Hi, today we're going to talk about the bones of the human body. So this is in your appendix in your book, and also you have a slideshow to go along with this. So I want to point out the bones of the cranium first. Here we have the frontal bone. The frontal bone is in the front of the skull. It's clearly marked in your book. It says frontal bone. And then we have, ooh, this is kind of crazy. Here we have the maxilla, which is the upper part of the mouth, and the mandible, which is the lower jaw. The nasal area is seen here, and the orbits of the eyes. We'll talk about the orbits later on when we discuss some of the other features. So here again we have the frontal, and we have the orbits of the eyes, the nasal bone, I'm going backwards, the maxilla, which is the upper part of the mouth, and the mandible, which is the lower part. Here along this area we have the parietal, and this is a paired bone. We have the temporal here, and the sphenoid, which is behind the eyes. This is the zygomatic arch, and the chewing muscles go from the mandible up through the zygomatic arch, and then they attach to the temporal bone here and allow for us to chew. The back of the skull contains the occipital right here. These are the parietal bones, one on either side, and the occipital. And then the occipital is also part here, part of the underneath of the skull. And this is the foramen magnum that we talked about earlier when we discussed the bipedalism. So that's the foramen magnum. All right, let's go to the postcranial bones. And again, your book has a really great appendix for this. And here we have the postcranial bones, post being underneath cranium, or the skull. So the postcranial bones would include the clavicle, which is your collarbone, and then the scapula, you see that in the back, and then the humerus right here. So the scapula and the clavicle and the humerus make up your shoulder blade, or your shoulder joint. Then here we have the hand, and the hand is in anatomical position with the thumb facing out. And so we would have the ulna on the backside of the hand, and then the radius. So the radius is actually closest to the thumb, and the ulna is on the back. Okay, and here, let's see it on this side. Again, in anatomical position. This is with the, if I can point it out here. This is hard because it's backwards for me. Here we go. The ulna and the radius. Radius closest to the thumb, ulna along the back. Then we have the spinal column, and your book will divide that up for you. You can take a look at that. The pelvis, and then this is the femur, the longest, strongest bone in the body, the femur. The patella is the kneecap, and it is not attached to the to any other bone except by ligaments and cartilage and muscles. And then we have the larger of the two bones of the lower leg, which is the tibia, and the smaller of the two bones, which is the fibula. I always say it's a little fib, so that's an easy way to remember it. The hands are carpals, metacarpals, phalanges, and digits, and the feet are tarsal bones, metatarsals, and phalanges and digits. So that's the human skeleton. All right, and we're going to move on to traits of the human skull.